Are we recording?
Yeah.
All right. Hey, you already know what time it is out here. If you're hearing this, it's about to get lit. This is the Clique podcast. Let me turn this down. This is the Clique podcast with your boy, the Prince of Rhodes. Y'all know who I am. Probably don't. I hate when rappers say that shit. You already know who it is. No, we never heard of you. But we got Tony here too, Tone Man.
What's
you
good,
still
y'all?
going by Tone Man?
I'm going by Tone Man. What's good, y'all?
Okay. First, we got to acknowledge, thank you, anybody, for listening. Whatever platform you're listening on, leave us a like. If you're on YouTube, go on, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, ring that bell. If you're on Spotify, give us a follow, a like, a favorite. You're listening, if you found us on Instagram, I don't care how you found us, like us, follow us, subscribe to us. Y'all know it's free. You just do it.
It sure is.
Anyways, Tony, what we about to get into? We need to introduce anything before we go on. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. I said all that. Yeah, what we got to talk about today?
Man, it's a whole...
I guess we should acknowledge the fact that we're making a podcast. We're doing this.
Oh, yeah, man, we sure.
Like everybody else right now.
I mean, we sure are. In fact, there's a lot that we need to talk about. But first, I just...
That damn Tesla stock is through the roof. Or at least it was. That should drop right back down like every goddamn thing else.
you mean... Look, I bought that stock 2 weeks ago at $440. On the first day, it went up to $500, and the next day it went down $50. Then the next week went down another $100. That's what I'm saying, bro. And that's why the stock market is kind of like a game, and it's like the best way to win is to invest for long term versus short term, unless you know what you're doing. But the only people that know what they're doing are Warren Buffett, and he is 80 years old. And,
he's literally like the only guy.
That's just that.
And there are other investors, but Warren Buffett is like not taking any L's. But he's known for saying like nobody wants to get rich slow. Somebody asked him, your investment strategy returns money every time. Why don't more people do it? And he said, nobody wants to get rich slow.
Nobody. And that's actually a reason why, like, you see a lot of these athletes and lottery winners go broke so fast is because they make their money in so much in short term. Like, imagine if, you're 21 years old and you sign a contract where you're getting paid $30 million over 4 years. And if you excel at your job, you get another contract worth 5 years, I don't know, $80 million or more, that's
the life. Shoot, let a couple $1 million fall out the sky for me. I'll take a record contract right now. Man. Now, I'm not going to sell my soul for that shit, though. But they be like, we need all of the rights to everything you do, YouTube videos, all that stuff for the next 10 years. And we also own everything you make. Anything with your name on it, we own it. We own your signature. We own your style. We own your likeness.
Literally says selling your whole entire life away. They're literally selling our culture back to us, which is bad.
They're literally selling us back to us. Like, how crazy it is that somebody can own your likeness. Hey man, that's my face you have on a commercial. Remember that time Dr. King came back in that episode of the Boondocks? That
was one of the funniest episodes. We said, well, y'all need to sit down and shut up in the church.
And the thing is, he was in like an Apple commercial. He was like, I really feel like people should clear this with me before they do that.
And they're like,
and Magruder don't miss. Oh, that's what I meant to ask. Before we just jump into stuff, what are you listening to right now? What you watching? What you reading? What you up in?
Man, it's been a lot of stuff. I've been all over the place in between, trying to educate myself on, politics, the economy, trying to better my skills for work, and also listening to some ignorant music.
Yeah.
What's crazy is I've been on
the wave. That high class, low life shit. That's my vibe.
Literally. I've been on the wave of listening to X and Ski Mask lately, and Ski Mask maybe
X was great.
And the thing is, Ski Mask may be I don't call him a psychopath, but a psychopath? That's the right word? you know, and he may sound crazy as hell, him and X together, but they definitely made some bangers. I'm not gonna lie. Like Ski Mask,
I think they're just off kilter. I don't think they're like crazy. They're just against the grain.
that's
But
actually that's
huh?
probably it. I said that might be a better word for itself because there was this one specific bar in a song where he literally says, "Yeah, I'm smoking cat piss." I was like, "Negro, what you just say?" And he literally just talking about smoking weed. And never in my life will I ever call the marijuana I would smoke animal's piss, unless that
I
shit is
mean,
so strong.
some people, rappers have a really unique way of just making everything just sound funny or interesting. Uh, and you got to just give that to, you know, mostly black people for just turning mostly black people to just black people, period. I don't
Yeah.
know why I said mostly black people for turning our tragedies into greatness. Because I
Well,
mean, people will call crack and all sorts of things, all sorts of fun, exciting names. That shit is just great marketing.
you know what's funny? There's a song I heard on Twitter the other day where the guy was like, "I know so crack. I'm giving these niggas some booger sugar." I was like, "What the fuck you just say?" He said, "I'm giving these niggas some booger sugar," which is literally cocaine. In fact,
You know,
listen, E40 was called cocaine, nasal candy, and nostril dust. And I was like, I love my black folk, but they kill me sometimes, man. I can't with us half the time. And that's a
oh,
compliment. That's not an insult. It's just,
but that reminds me of the show I'm watching right now. It's called Woke on Hulu.
yo,
They're
I'm
not
watching
going
that
to
too.
be.
I'm on like,
Yes, that shit is so funny. You saw that part where TJ Miller's character was trying to pitch to them cocaine. He's
yeah.
like, I have some revitalizing
some some like type of
supplements in powdered form.
it is pure like energy. And I was like, you mean Coke? No, it's not Coke. It's perfectly legal. I was like, no, it's not. In fact, I think in one episode he was like, what you need to do is you need to self-medicate and go in your room. Like, no, that's how you become an addict. I'm on like
Yeah, that show is great though. And the thing is that I'm I guess you would say I'm a cartoonist, but I'm like a mangaka, which shout out anybody out there that watches anime. You know what a mangaka is. They're the people that make the manga, which are the comics that a lot of anime are based on.
right.
And I'm drawing my own anime, and I'm basing it on my. Well, I'm not drawing my own anime. I'm drawing my own comic, and I'm basing it off my rap persona. Um, but I just think watching this show is kind of a really interesting thing, um, especially just being in the position that I'm in.
You mean like
But
as far as like being an artist and trying to make your way? Because
yeah,
well, what's crazy is for like any listeners that have not seen the show yet, basically woke
oh,
is
yeah, let's not
about
spoil too much.
well, like here's like the basic plot. No spoilers, FY. It's basically so the show like is basically about a black man in San Francisco who is an artist like during this time, and he has I'll say a revelation as far as his position in America, and it's just about how
He
he
wakes up, he becomes woke.
that's actually it. And basically, like his whole entire viewpoint on his art just changes significantly, like 100%.
Yeah,
And I would definitely recommend it to like anyone that wants to watch it because the show does a really good job touching on modern like issues within the inner city, aka gentrification, you know, and also trying to navigate you being a black artist and how black art is monetized and also kind of sold.
commoditized.
Yeah, now heads up.
Yeah, it's a really good commentary.
Oh yeah. It, and I'm not gonna listen. I can't talk about it right now because it'll spoil things. But them that
I
first
just,
episode was hilarious. That's all I'm
yeah,
saying.
it definitely was. I like I said, everybody who's out there listening, definitely check that out because that shit is funny.
Yeah.
Um, otherwise, uh, what else you watching right now? What are you listening to? Reading anything?
Um. Let me think. I was actually watching The Boys recently, which that show
Oh, yeah,
also does
everybody's talking
another
about
like
that
great.
show.
You said what?
I said that's another show everybody's been talking about.
And you know what's great about that show as well is basically imagine if superheroes were actually real in real life because you know
Yeah,
how in
well, my
superhero films
favorite comic of all time. is Watchmen by Alan Moore.
Yep.
And that's basically the premise of that. Except, it's really crazy. I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm sorry to just kind of go off.
No, you're
But
good.
just remind me to come back to Watchmen. You finished talking about The Boys.
Okay. So basically, The Boys, that show does a really good job with social commentary as well. But basically, you know how it's superhero films, like with Marvel and DC, the superheroes are all the times pure, or they try to be pure and whatnot, try to have their own
Yeah.
type of agenda just for good. In this show, it basically shows like superheroes as if they are like monetized, pretty much realistic,
Yeah.
and it's really, they did a really good job, like the satire as far as, the DC universe. Like, pretty much imagine Superman was a nationalistic American, to put it that way. And
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy how, if in real life, under Donald Trump's presidency, these superheroes were real, they would definitely be used by us Americans to push the American agenda around the world. To put it that way, it's a very, very like gruesome show. Just a heads up, but it'll definitely captivate you. It'll bring you in.
That sounds right along with Watchmen.
Yeah.
Watchmen, and I think Watchmen is kind of funny because Watchmen is set in 1985, when we were in the middle of the Cold War, and everyone felt like, these bombs could go off in the world at any minute, which kind of feels like right now, considering, America is literally on fire.
Yep.
I
mean, there's no way around it. It's literally on fire.
Yeah. But in Watchmen, a lot of the characters, actually all of the characters just flat out work for the government. There was a bill that was passed that said any hero that didn't work for the government was considered a vigilante and would be locked up. And it just is that comic,
yeah,
and that just a story that Alan Moore crafted is literally going to be, it literally might be the best superhero story of all time for me.
It might be because it ties into stuff that is realistic as far as what the American government would do with people that had this.
And it's not even just the government, but that shit is eye-opening to think about what God thinks about. And Alan Moore is a really fucking weird dude, but I love him for being weird. That man says he's a magician in the sense that he can create worlds and stuff with his words, and that's basically like a magic spell. Or he just flat out practices magic. And I think it's both.
Say, man, I'm gonna just give you a heads up.
Huh?
That's some H.P. Lovecraft shit, man.
Oh yeah, that dude is fucking nuts. However, that pen of his is great. But yeah, he crafts the comic in a way that makes you kind of understand how time and stuff works, and how there's only one being in that universe that has powers, and is Dr. Manhattan. And Dr. Manhattan is basically like God, except because of the whole Superheroes Act, he has to work for the United States government.
Yep.
And this guy literally writes a book on that. He said, first he wrote a book, and he was quoted for saying Superman exists and he is American. And then
that's
after
what happened,
basically
that's literally what happened in The Boys, man. Literally, Superman is an American.
Yeah. And literally Dr. Manhattan single-handedly ends a war. And there's a news cycle that comes out the next day, and he says, no, you are mistaken. I didn't say Superman exists and he's American. I said God exists and he is American. And it's just really interesting. And I'm not gonna, even if we could spend 3 podcasts on this and I couldn't dissect it enough, but I just really recommend everyone read it, watch it. There's a motion comic out, really good. If you don't want to sit and read it,
there's also a Watchmen TV show as well, viewers. If you have,
oh yeah, that's the spinoff, but you have to read the comic because that's where that picks off at.
Yeah.
But the thing about Alan Moore too is that he got really screwed over by DC, so he has denounced anything attached to Watchmen. outside of him, and he refuses to work on it or whatever because they really screwed him out of it because he thought he was going to own it at the end of the day.
Man, oh man, oh man. And that's what we were talking about too earlier, like before the podcast, as far as imagine if you're artist and they own your work, and literally like
Yeah.
any type of work that you do that is related to the thing that you signed for, you get sued out of your ass.
Yeah.
And then you still work for them. Therefore, you gotta make more stuff. It's literally,
Yeah.
I don't even call it slavery, but it's literally selling your
No,
life.
it's slavery. It's new slavery. Modern day slaves.
Yeah.
And that is a great transition into our topic about how the current media industry is predatory.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Man.
And I just want to take a second. I of course own a media company. That is why I'm distributing all this stuff, this music, podcast, all that kind of thing. But Black people very rarely own these companies. And I mean, now we're getting more and more people, but the ratio is still very, very disproportionate. Which is why every time we hear about a story about an independent artist or whatever actually making it, especially an independent rapper, we always champion that because the fucking cards are stacked against us.
It really is.
And literally taking a record contract is like selling your soul. And I mean, it's literally that age-old tale, but, you know, there's really no reason this industry has to be predatory. I mean, granted, I guess at the end of the day, all businesses want to grow.
Yep.
But, I mean, that gets into a whole different conversation about, like, you know, just assuming this is not coming from a place of race. If we're just talking about the economic reasons why businesses are just fucking evil, you know, this is all, well, yeah. But this is all under the assumption that, you know, money is like zero sum. Like, people have to be poor for some people to be rich. But, I mean, in all honesty, you know, we're going to have to figure out something in terms of, like, the economy or whatever. Because I think we're, you know, the digital age and stuff that we're going into, all of this sounds kind of non sequitur, but just bear with me, audience, and also you, Tony.
No. Okay.
Yeah, we're in a digital age, and we're relying super heavily on media, entertainment, and all of that right now to basically pick up everything that we're doing. And the thing is that Black people are not in positions to take advantage of that, like, at all in this country. And
I mean,
you know, it almost seems like there's no other way, but I know there has to be.
I mean, well, let's just think about it, right? By media, okay, let's just first like define what we mean by the media. Like, are we talking like in terms of social media, movies, TV?
I mean, all media. I mean, people that own the fucking media. I'm talking about like
Disney, Fox.
Yeah, the people sitting on those boards.
Yeah.
How many people of color you think sit on the boards of those companies?
Probably zero, because the people that run those companies are the top 1% of the world. I mean, just really think about it. You know, a lot of the media that we have in America is really owned by maybe a handful of big conglomerates. And the biggest one that
I actually wrote an article about that a few years back. It's owned by 6 companies, basically,
and the biggest
which is the devil's number.
and the biggest one, and the biggest one that people know about is Disney. No, in fact, Disney they own the most profitable movie franchise in history. That's Marvel Cinematic Universe. They also own the top 5. Hold on, let me fact check that real quick. But like top 10 movie franchises, and that's Star Wars as well. They own the rights. from Mr.
Well,
Lucas.
they just bought Fox too, so they own Avatar.
They also bought.
Uh,
Who else? They also bought ESPN, probably the biggest outside Fox Sports sports media company in this entire country, maybe the world. I gotta fact check that as well. They already have so much power as far as what we see and what we control that they can control the narrative. In fact, they do control the
so
narrative.
here's the thing. It's really funny you say that because you're only talking about in terms of content, though.
That's it.
But there are other juggernauts when it comes to other media, because you got to think about it. Media isn't just the content we consume; it's the method in which we watch it and consume it on.
Yeah.
Remember yesterday when we were test running this podcast? We were talking about what's the best platform to put this on. Joe Budden right now is battling with Spotify, but those platforms are also media because they can manipulate how the information is getting received, even if it's a movie or a song or anything. Netflix is the middleman. They don't create that content, but they're involved in mediating it to us.
Yep.
But when you start thinking about phone companies and like people that own literally like cell phone towers.
Yeah.
Like
Verizon. In fact, I learned that the reason why Verizon was, or probably still is, like the number one phone, phone company, is because during the 90s and probably like the 2000s, they started owning all the clicker towers around here that controls, cell reception and everything. So basically, like, you own the tool that allows you to companies to even function.
And that's what I was about to say next, because, even in media, think about how long it was before we had Disney Plus. Disney, the $50 billion company, right?
Yeah.
This big ass company still had to split the profits with little old Netflix. And I'm not going to say little old Netflix because Netflix is worth a couple billion right now, right?
Let me check real quick. What Netflix worth? Give me 1 second, because I'm gonna fact check that way. We'll give our audience some correct information.
Yeah.
20 billion, not 2 billion.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's a pretty nice number. I mean, but their margins are paper thin, though. They literally have to pump out content all the time in order to keep the users happy, which means they're spending, if their annual budget is like, I don't know, maybe 5 billion, then we're talking 4 of that is getting spent on content acquisition and marketing.
Sorry about that. I was just reading something real quick, and I just learned that Alphabet is actually worth twice as much as Disney. In fact, almost 3 times. Alphabet is worth $9.62 billion according to Business Insider. And
don't even get me started with them, with the big tech giants like Google and Apple, because I mean Apple literally will squeeze Spotify the fuck up out of here. They're like, they tried to get Fortnite the fuck out of here. They was like, if you don't give us the cut of that money, you won't have this game on an iPhone. You won't.
I'd be like, I'll be damned. They both strong arm everybody out of everything. But the fact that these companies grew to this point, I just can't fathom how much $1 billion is alone.
Well, but that's the thing, though. I try not to think of it abstractly. I mean, because if you think about it, we're going to use Spotify. We're going to use Google.
Yep.
There's a reason why they have a lot of money. It's because they provide a damn good product.
And that is the dilemma, is that they have great products, and that's why we support them and purchase their stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But, it's a lot of money, but we just need some more black people in those positions, you know?
Yeah, we can always like just go back in history and understand just how the industry works. But really, like you said before, it's that hard because of the monopoly they have on the business. In fact, let's
Yeah,
take an example, right? When we were watching Atlanta, right? You notice how when on the first episode, in case anyone that hasn't seen Atlanta, spoiler alert, Ern tried to get his cousin's the music play Paperboy on the radio, you know. So he had
yeah.
to he had to like bribe the local radio station guy to play his song or pay him, you know. Now, the reason why record labels are so enticing to artists is because artists need money to make music, and that's the sad truth. Good quality music,
Yeah.
like access to,
Well,
the
artists of any kind need money to fund not only staying alive, but making a product that makes them an artist.
right, and that's where I see a few of my friends say that they want to like become a rapper, and I always tell them, you need to have a source of income in order to do that. It's like I understand like you want to follow your dreams, but remember you need money to survive in this world. Like you do
Yeah.
need to like either work a regular job because you can't just be a rapper by day. You know, it's like you're not going to like be able to pay the bills unless you're a big artist. But no, you're just a regular old Joe. So like I said, like in the show, most record labels have access to all that stuff. They'll say, "Hey, here's $1 million. Go make music. Access to the best producers. Do what you got to do." But like you said, when they sign that contract, a lot of times the record label is going to own 60% of all the royalties from their music, and on top of any
But
other.
the thing is that you hit the nail on the head because all they're doing is giving you access to those people. But you know who the best producers are, who the best artists are? Other black people.
Yeah,
And if we just had them crafts and we just, nursed it ourselves, we would not need no goddamn record label.
I mean, we really do
And I
because
mean, now, right now, everybody is hopping on that gravy train. There's money in media. There really is.
there is.
Um, and now that we can like distribute music and stuff ourselves, at least on the platforms that we would check for, uh, we have a lot more talking power.
And this is where I would say the beauty in platforms like SoundCloud come in, right? Because technically nowadays you don't have to have the radio station to play your music anymore. In fact, you can really just
Yeah,
upload stuff on either Spotify or SoundCloud. You know,
yeah,
this really like goes back to what you said before. It's like nowadays we are in such a special predicament because we have black folk who do have a say in the any 1% class. I'm gonna give you a prime example that we always talk about. Jay-Z, for example. I mean,
yeah.
and Beyonce. Let's just add those two, right? Those are probably maybe the two most powerful married couple artists that I can think about off the top of my head that are black. So they can literally say, "Hey, so we're going to start our own like record company, so we have our own like type of like a distribution, a radio station."
Jay-Z did it the best because he sat at the head of a record label to know how the business works.
Yeah,
You know why? I mean, Rockefeller Records, I think, still might be a thing, but you know why he's a billionaire? Because Tidal is making him, I want to say, $100 million a year.
somewhere around there. Yeah, yeah. Rockefeller is still a thing. Rockefeller Records.
And he said, he has sat at the head of those things, but, there's not a ton of money in music as much as there is owning the platform. Uh, but at the same time, you can build your platform on other platforms, uh, which is kind of what we're doing.
Yeah.
But let's transition to another topic, only because I feel like we've been on this one and we're kind of losing the scheme from it.
It's like earlier, I also was going to talk to you about particularly the market and what happened with Nikola because you had mentioned that Warren Buffett has always said that most people don't want to get rich slow, and
Yeah.
I was reading this article earlier, and it was talking about Warren Buffett's investment portfolio. Just for anyone that is interested, Warren Buffett has a company called the Berkshire Hathaway, which, to make a long story short, is like an investment conglomerate. And he was talking about how he never like truly invests in tech startups as much. And I can't remember off the top of my head the reason why he never does. But I think he said it has something to do with the volatile nature of tech stocks, which is literally what we experienced over the past 2 weeks. In fact,
well, also, I think it's just funny. Somebody on Twitter said this, and I thought it was pretty funny. Stocks don't always go up.
Wait, what'd you say?
Stocks don't always go up.
Oh, no, they sure don't. They sure as heck don't. It's like a long-term game where it's just constant up and downs, but like over time, you'll see some great returns. And basically with Nikola, the new electric startup, for anyone that is curious, General Motors recently bought an 11% stake in Nikola, I think earlier this week, that raised the stock by, I think, $20 to $30. And the reason why it's crashing now for anyone that has invested in it is because apparently Nikola has been lying about their about their product, and someone has described it as an intricate fraud. The whole entire startup is actually a fraud. Even though
that is hysterical. But the thing is when I heard about it, I was like, this seems like a knockoff Tesla.
And literally, which is where I was going to go next, is that ever since, I think the past maybe 2 or 3 years, we have seen a an exponential rise in the amount of electric car startups. And they're trying to get into a market that they know is going to grow because of federal regulations. Worldwide regulations for the environment, particularly with gas-powered cars, which of course needs to happen. But the issue is that all these Wall Street investors are, I would say, like, giving them in like initial offering of like $2 to $3 billion because like they believe they can find the next Tesla. We could spend this entire podcast as to why Tesla should not be here and how their whole business model is literally I'm not gonna say a sham, but is literally
nonsensical.
In fact, they should not be here. They should not have to be here at all. But you know what? They are. And that's the best way how I can put it. I mean, they should definitely not be here, but they are. In fact, they are the most valuable car company in the entire world. In fact, one of the most valuable companies in this world because of Elon Musk's shenanigans and what he's been doing. In fact, literally,
Elon Musk is a whole something.
He is something else. In fact, he's the only man I have ever seen where he can unveil a truck that looks like a Lego block. And people actually forgot that there are federal regulations and that truck is extremely unsafe. In fact, it won't even pass.
Not to mention ugly.
Boy, you're gonna see a lot of flack for that because some people love that truck. I'm an audience where I knew that is not gonna be the final design because
obviously because it wouldn't work. It doesn't even have rear view mirrors, right?
It doesn't have side mirrors. Exactly. It doesn't have side mirrors. That's not gonna be the final design. But when they unveiled that truck, we saw GMC unveiled the brand new Hummer, which to everybody's knowledge, the Hummer is coming back as a fully electric big truck. You saw the Hummer you saw Rivian.
Hummer, they did do that with Hummer, and that really, was that before or after Ford announced the Mustang is going to be fully electric and also an SUV?
That I do not know. All I know is it was around the same. It was around the same time, like time span. So I was like, "Yep, it's already starting." We also had the company like Rivian.
The electric revolution.
basically it. And what I'm trying to get at is that these Wall Street investors are, you know, saying that these companies are worth like so many like $1 billion because they know the technology is the future. But but car companies themselves is it is almost impossible to start a car company because of how much it costs and all the you know, laws and regulations that the cars need to pass for each for you to sell it in the country. So it's very hard to even start up the business alone. So
Yeah.
basically, a lot of these companies that we see now are probably not going to be here in the next few years, or if they are, they're not going to be any good compared to Tesla. Which, by the way, Tesla still has probably the best electric car out there for anyone that is in the market because their whole entire portfolio is tailored around electric cars. Now, make no mistake,
Hey,
there are now,
that that new Mustang looks like it could go tit for tat
but the thing, okay,
on.
so the thing about the Mustang is the reason why I'm not a big fan of it is because what Ford is doing is they know how far behind they are in the like electric car market. So, you know, they say, okay, so we're going to build a crossover, which is the number one selling car, I'll say car type in this country. And they need to have a name that's going to attract more interest. So they chose a Mustang because they know that the Mustang has a very strong following, and they know that's going to like generate sales. Like I'm pretty sure
Thing
that's
is, though, is that
hmm?
Mustang sales have been going down for years, though.
Yeah.
Uh,
Now, honestly, all sports car sales are going down, but it's not
yeah,
for the reason that most people think. Because we as like millennials and Gen Zers view cars like differently than our parents because just think about it 20 to 30 years ago our dollar went further as far as like like we got more bang for our buck, you know, like
mm-hmm.
like in the 90s rent was probably like 300 to 400 bucks as far as now it's almost $1,000 more. But the difference is that the wages have not kept up with the inflation as you definitely know. So therefore, it's like we can't afford to, you know, A, buy a house and B, have like 2 or 3 cars because
Yeah,
most people are not going to have a sports car as their first and only car because of, you know, it's not as practical as like, you know, like an SUV or a 4 door. So
yeah.
crossovers is basically like a combination of having a car and a truck, which as a car dude is so stupid, but to most people, they're like, yeah, you know, a car that can just all do one. So us
Well,
millennials,
but the thing is, though,
hmm?
is that when it comes to electric cars, I think they're seeing it as, you know, there's no reason to have the same standards. Well, not same standards, but the same precedents. Um, because if you're going to make an electric car that, for the most part, can go, you know, on par with the regular sports car, uh, except make it electric and make it, you know, more useful, like all around. Uh, you know, why wouldn't you do that?
Well,
Um,
now I will say is that that's the whole notion with like what crossovers are in general, which is a car that can pretty much do it all. And see now the thing is that they may have called this thing a Mustang, but they're also going to be like unveiling a new like Mustang platform where it's like it's going to be like just like a bigger, more like luxury car in the future anyway. So
yeah,
it's like now they're gonna have a Mustang truck and also like a Mustang, like bigger, more luxurious car. And now make no mistake, listeners, electric cars are much faster than gasoline powered cars in terms of like short term races. And what I mean is when you step on the gas, I'm sorry, like when you step on the accelerator in like an electric car, the car just goes, I'm sorry, it has quicker acceleration compared to a gas car. And you can generate a lot more power with more batteries. So the sports cars are always still going to be here. But with the Mustang, I think that it's just a marketing ploy to call that crossover a Mustang because they could have called it the Mach E and that would have been a great name itself. But to a lot of it's like, but they also alienated a lot of their customers that are diehard Mustang fans. But
Well, but that's what I'm getting at, though, is that while it technically, I mean, it's something new entirely, but at the same time, you know, this is where it's going. Lamborghini's out here making trucks, you know?
yeah, they
Uh,
are. Well, yeah, no, it's like
so,
SUVs and crossovers are the number ones selling car types in the world. In fact,
yeah,
you're looking at trying to buy a crossover. But it's like,
yeah,
all of us now view cars in a different way. Cause
practicality.
yeah, in terms of honestly, like practicality and being able to afford one. Because also,
Yeah,
cars are way more expensive now than what they were like back then.
yeah.
Way more expensive. So, it's like with all these
That's a
startups,
corporate greed,
corporate
and inflation.
corporate greed, inflation. You get all these startups popping up out of nowhere where people are saying, "Yeah, this will be worth like $5 billion in 2 years," but yet it goes under in like a year. So
Yeah,
yes, I'm saying like tech stock is so volatile. That's why I lost some money this week, but I ain't surprised though, man. I knew that shit was a gamble anyway.
yeah. You know, speaking of gambling, uh, I well, I guess it's not really gambling, but since we are talking about big companies, stock market and things like that, I do not trade forex. I do just want to put that out there. Uh, and we actually just hit the hour mark, so I just want to say thank you anybody who is still here, still listening. An hour into the podcast, give yourself a round of applause. I should have had a round of applause thing ready. I'll have it next time at the next episode when we hit the hour mark.
Yep.
But thanks for being here at this time. So just talking about big companies and stuff like that. We got to talk about Africa. We got to talk about how Africa is on the come up,
Hey,
and Black is the future.
I just for the audience out there, I just want to point out again is that Africa should have always been number one because all the things that we build out of, all the technology that we see nowadays, comes from precious metals that is mined out of the DRC. If you're the source of the materials that makes this stuff, you should be rich. But that's not the case.
You want
But
to say that for me one more time, Tony?
all I'm gonna say is, if you are the source of materials that builds things that are worth over $1 billion, you should get a piece of the pie. But
I'm trying to pull up one of DJ Clue's bombs. Let me see if let me see.
but I had that Joe Budden type of thing. We had that like gunshot in the background.
I can give you an air horn.
There we go. Go ahead.
Keep talking.
No, you good. Yeah. So, with that all in mind, there's a reason why I say that. If you look at the continent itself, it is, I think, top two most diverse countries on this planet in terms of wildlife. And as far as
Continent.
rare earth metals, and I'm not talking like gold or diamonds and stuff. I'm talking like metals on the periodic table that is used to build our cell phones, the TVs, the
Well,
batteries.
not even just gold and diamond. I
No,
mean,
no, no, no.
you say not even, but also gold and diamonds.
I mean, yeah. I mean, even those two. I'm talking like pretty much all kinds of earth metals. The stuff that builds pretty much the things that we deem essential in our lives in the Western world and in the most developed world.
Even just some of the raw materials that aren't even metals. Just some of literally China right now is gutting Africa
It
in
is.
certain places to build their roads and their infrastructure.
In fact, I think Akon, which by the way, shout out to Akon though. He's doing some fantastic things he's from Senegal, if
The
I'm correct.
world.
Yeah, for the world. I mean, he's literally like trying to build his own town out there, if I'm correct. I think he's trying to have his own currency, like a cryptocurrency for I think that particular city. He's
The
literally
thing is that if he pulls that off, he would be goaded for life
yeah.
and beyond.
So I just read an article on Black Enterprise, where it says that like Akon breaks ground with construction on a $6 billion smart city out in Senegal.
That's nuts.
Which actually what I was talking to you about is that if we had that kind of money, I would legit say, you know what, I'm going to build my own city for this particular purpose. And the reason why I bring up Akon is because I watched his interview with DJ Vlad, and he pointed out that he had $1 billion credit line, I think either from the Chinese government or from a Chinese solar panel manufacturer, because he did provide like electricity for millions of Africans, which in itself like deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. But
they don't care about Africa.
They don't.
I have always thought about that. I was like, if I ever become rich, I will really start heavily investing in Africa, especially Ethiopia right now. That's in the top 5 world's growing economies.
Yep.
Not only is we got to shout out all the greatest Ethiopians. Let me get the sound effect ready. Who we got in terms of great Ethiopians? Pull some up.
Do you realize how big of a list Head is? You put me on the spot, bro. I gotta.
Google it. Google it. We should know more. We got The Weeknd.
Give me 1 second.
We got somebody else is Ethiopian.
Well, we could just say that if I remember correctly, like Ethiopia was one of the few, if not probably the only country in Africa that was not colonized by the Europeans. That in itself is an accomplishment.
Yeah, it really is. And it's crazy because you can fact check what the biggest economies on the growth are. But I've been hearing for a while, Ethiopia is ripe. It's about to be, a powerhouse. And I believe it. And not only could you really be helping some people by investing in there, but you could make that money grow.
I think there's actually...
People hate blackness so much, they don't even want to touch Africa. The thing is that I was watching a little docuseries on that. Essentially, there aren't that many places that want to help develop Africa because racism. Like, I'm not even gonna say racism, but like companies that have thought about developing there, like have literally has just thought about like that market is too underdeveloped. They still think of them as people running around, in deserts and stuff, fighting off, lions and shit.
Which is
they're like,
crazy.
Oh yeah, our product is not, we don't have the capacity to launch it there.
Which is crazy.
And it's like,
I just want to point out that now, audience, fact check me on this as well. But aren't Africans the most educated demographic in the United States of America?
Probably. How's the audience going to fact check you? I mean, they can just grill you in the comments, I guess. But most places we post this aren't even going to have a comment section.
Yep. Thank you.
But yeah, just blatant racism is really why nobody wants to invest there. But you know who has been heavily investing in Africa?
Who?
China. China has been helping, develop a lot of, infrastructure in a lot of these African countries. And it's like, the United States right now, especially considering what's going on, we're having this terrible race relations and stuff. And it's like, Agent Orange is talking about how China's the next big threat or whatever, but the only reason they're the next big threat is because we're too busy just kissing our own ass.
Yeah. Just a heads up, Agent Orange is Donald J. Trump. We don't call him our president.
Donald Trump.
Donald Secretary. Donald Trump. Oh my gosh. So according to the study, it says that Asian Americans have the highest educational attainments But I will say is that Africans, my fellow Africans, are definitely high on that list.
Shout out to all of our African friends that are out there listening. Shout out to all the people of, name some places, South Africa. Shout out to my people of Ethiopia and Eritrea. We really should get some sound effects on here.
Shout out pretty much all the countries because I think I met so many people from so many regions. I met someone.
Let me see if I can get it. Can you get a sound effect going? Can you play one from your computer?
Let me see. Okay, real quick. But continue talking while I find it.
Yeah. But shout out to all of our friends and listeners over there from Ethiopia, South Africa, Senegal, Tanzania. Who else can get a shout out? Egypt. We got some friends from Egypt.
Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia. You know.
Somalia.
Definitely Somalia as well, man. That's
yeah.
From Tanzania, as one of our friends has it.
Tanzania.
Yeah.
That's funny. But
I can't do anything. There's something that we're gonna have to do before the podcast starts. Just a heads up.
Yeah, we'll do that next time. The thing is, we're doing this off of my phone, and like I said, when I do this on my computer next, I'm gonna have my phone on standby to do effects.
Did you hear that?
But yeah, well, it sounded like a pop.
That was actually a gunshot. That's all.
Why'd you get an actual real gunshot?
No, like that's
just get an air horn.
Like,
nobody wants to hear an accurate gunshot depiction.
Hold on.
Put some pizzazz on that shit.
Let me see real quick.
Look up an air horn.
Is that like good enough? How is this?
Can we let it play out?
Shit, no, hold on. Nope. There is way too many options.
You having fun?
No, I can't find anything.
It's cool. Y'all will get a drop next time. But yeah, I'm just really thinking about, Afrofuturism. Can you please drop some kind of a sound effect while you're still up there, though? Let me know if you can hear this. Can we please just say, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Lost one of the greats. I feel like I'm inappropriately using that sound effect. Did you hear that?
You hear this? Did you hear that?
No, not at all. I heard something. But hold on. R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. One of the greatest. We lost a black icon. Black people, do not let this waver your spirits.
Nah, don't. Trust me, because he definitely did do all this while he was terminally ill. So,
yep.
Don't think like it was sudden. Honestly, I'm just glad that it wasn't by police violence or like anything of that nature that could have been prevented.
Yeah.
No, because that would definitely set everything off.
The Most High called him home.
Which actually we should definitely talk about. I know it's probably talked about a lot as far as the effects that Black Panther had, but we could talk about how it affected us because
I feel like that's a real iffy thing to talk about Africa and then slide right into Black Panther.
No, I would say.
But I was just gonna say I brought it up to talk about Afrofuturism and how Black is the future. But say what you were gonna say.
Now, I was saying is the film itself highlighted what could have been of Africa if it was never touched by colonialism and I would say invaders, because everything that you saw Black Panther represented Africa that was not touched by European influence whatsoever. And what I mean is, I'll give you a prime example. Let's talk about the hairstyles by the women in the film. None of the hairstyles were straightened in the slightest. Not because straight hairstyles.
Well, most of them were also bald.
Huh? I'm not talking about the Dora I'm talking like, for example, Lupita.
The Dora Milaje.
Dora Milaje, excuse me. let's take Lupita like Nyong'o, for example, right? In fact,
Mm-hmm.
I think she said this as well in like one of her like interviews where she said that the hairstyles and the fashion they see is not influenced by Europe, and none of the women have straight hair because they never thought of the idea of straightening their hair for a fashion reasons. They stuck with the hair that they knew, and that was the natural kinky to tight curls or loose curls, depending upon how their hair quality was. And I'm not saying that straight hair looks bad because it definitely does not. But as we know in America, European
White
features.
skin is the right skin.
Yeah, that's literally it. Like European features were considered more like beautiful, and African features were considered terrible. So that's why the perm came about. Even though perm does quote relax hair and make it easy to work with, it is definitely damaging. The reason why it was used is because, hey, straight hair was considered quote professional and right, to put
Okay.
it.
Real quick, let's have a quiz.
Sure.
5 points for anybody at home. Don't look this up. Who invented the perm? Tony, you can fact check me. We're going to let them have a little Jeopardy. We're not going to do this. Madam C.J. Walker. If I'm not mistaken, she was the first black millionaire as well from inventing a perm. Please fact check me on this. Huh?
Well, so it's mixed. So the first thing I see is there's a hairdresser named Carl Nessler, who is a German, supposedly.
No, we'll claim that shit.
Hold on. Let me check real quick. The perm relaxer, someone say is Garrett Morgan. I'm finding all kinds of sources. So a lot of people say it's Madam C.J. Walker. That was actually a terrible quiz because I'm seeing all kinds of answers. This is why you
Okay. Here's another Jeopardy round.
There we go.
Also, let's shout out Alex Trebek. He's been classy this whole time. And speaking of, performers acting through illness, he also has cancer.
I think it's stage.
And I have always loved Jeopardy, huh?
I think it's stage 4, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So, bless him, his family. Love Jeopardy. Let's hope we have a lot more, many more long years with him. I couldn't even imagine the show without Alex. But let's have another Jeopardy moment. What is the language spoken in the Black Panther film?
That's a lot better.
And I know that one off the top of my head, too. Like I said, 5 points for anybody at home. You can cash points in for fucking nothing. I don't know. I might come up with a point system. And I might have people like tweet us or something like, yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll cash out people like $5 or something. Listen to the podcast, win $5.
Bring money into
question.
Listen.
Yeah.
You best.
Listen. I mean, well, we should do that, I guess, at the end of every podcast. I'll tell everybody what it is now. I actually don't know how to pronounce it. Do you?
I heard it once, but I was hoping that you did. But I'll just spell it out.
It's Xosa.
XHOSA. That is a
it's pronounced Esosa or Kisosa. I'm butchering it. Please forgive me, everyone out there listening.
Kose?
But I've only heard it pronounced by somebody who spoke that language.
I think it's Kose. I could be 100% wrong.
No, I'm telling you, I've heard it pronounced. It's like Eisosa.
Yes.
Like the X is pronounced like a Y-I, and then the H is like Ho-Sa.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up real quick. Pronunciation. But if I remember correctly, the actor that played T'Challa's father actually spoke in real life. So I think they said it was just a little bit easier to like transition or like bring the language into the film.
Yeah.
I
think the only place, huh?
It says, hold on, this is weird.
Play a video. If you Google it, like how to pronounce it, a YouTube video should pop up, like how to pronounce it. Can you play it out loud for the audience?
It's like
so we don't keep butchering it.
It's like a click sound.
Yeah.
It's a gosh, hold on.
Like I said, just play it because I wasn't gonna try to pronounce it.
Give me 1 second. Hold on.
Kosa.
Yeah, somebody said Kosa, but of course that's not like the actual click sound that is actually pronounced in the language, or like that is actually said in the language.
You can't find somebody who's actually African.
Oh, bro, this is each. Hold on, just give me 1 second.
Lesson took so long, but anyway, it was worth it. I believe I'm going to teach you how to say the clicks. For example, Xhosa, my language that I speak.
Oh, Kosa.
Run that back.
Hold on, yeah.
For example, Xhosa, my language that I speak. It is
Xhosa.
But you gotta like click it though. You gotta like click it.
Well, I'm not gonna do that. That gets real fucking offensive.
Offensive, and I already have an aneurysm trying to do that because the English language is not like that in the slightest.
Yeah. But we have been in this topic for way too long. I only brought this up, AfroFuturism. Just really shout out to that. Largely that film for kind of waking a lot of people up, and it's kind of weird. But I think we just needed a morale boost. We just needed to see a black superhero shit done on screen. You know,
a black superhero that is from Africa who is very, very powerful. In fact,
who's rich, who's muscular, who don't take shit from nobody.
I mean, literally, like in the film, like after watching the film, I thought to myself, I do want to visit Wakanda. Oh, it's not real.
We don't have a haven like that.
No, like there is no haven where, my skin is not deemed as dangerous.
Yeah. That's why we gotta buy black-owned businesses. Trying to get me on all my niggas rich. That's the bar that I wrote.
Is what we got to do, and this can also lead to a topic talking about, how some people have said that if we segregate again, things will get better, and talking about.
I don't know about all that.
Yeah, I know, but it's like their argument is if we only have each other. I'm sorry, if we only have each other, then we can only support each other's like businesses or whatnot. And what they're talking about is like trying to bring back Black Wall Street and stuff like that, which is definitely, in fact, technically, we definitely still have it, just that we don't own the products that we sell.
This might be a really crazy idea, and this is where it's just gonna go left. And I will let you finish your point, but I just want to bring up, where do you think that might be?
What do you mean as far as Black Wall Street?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like I don't think there's like any place. I mean, if we're talking like in terms of culture capital of America, you could argue that Atlanta is the culture capital of America right now.
Well, I think a lot of niggas from New York and Compton might disagree with that, but
well, no offense to them, but all I'm gonna say is New York has had its time. No offense to New York folk. You guys have had an astronomical influence on the culture of America itself. Like you guys are the media capital of the world. But as far as Black culture right now, it's probably Atlanta. And this is where
not Florida?
A battle going on right now. Because
for the new Giants. The thing is, is that I can't say it's just Atlanta. I kind of have to group all of the South together.
Yeah.
Because it literally is the South, which in a sense kind of makes New York niggas goated, because New York as a city is taking on the entire South, and they're taking on West Coast, like the whole West Coast.
The entire West Coast. And like most rappers are either from the Bay Area or they're from LA area.
Yeah. So the thing is, is that the South is more spread out. We don't have as many huge cities, which is why we think of Atlanta. But we have a lot of great rappers coming out of Florida. And on the next podcast, I might want to share my something in the water story. But Joe Budden said that shit best. Producing geniuses is what Virginia does. That nigga said he also kisses his fucking dog in the mouth or whatever.
Well,
I didn't even want to hear that shit.
you know, we're gonna hold that for the X-rated version of the podcast because I have a few.
Let's hold that for the never version of the podcast.
Exactly. But no, look, let's think about.
But think about how many people have come out of Virginia. We got Chris Brown, Timbaland,
Trey Songz,
Pharrell, Trey Songz,
Masego,
Pusha T,
Missy
Pusha
Elliott.
Thanos.
You said Missy Elliott, right?
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay.
We got a lot of goats coming out of Virginia. That's all people need to know.
Big,
But continue about Black Wall Street.
I said big baby drama as well.
Yeah.
Black Wall Street.
But I only bring this up to say, we're just talking about culture capitals. The South is just kind of spread out, and we do have big cities in the South, but Houston is popping right now.
It is. It definitely is.
But the reason why the South kind of rotates every couple of years, like we might have a few years where Atlanta's up, we have a few years where Houston is up, a few years where somewhere else is up. North Carolina was up last year with, the baby and the whole fucking Dreamville rollout. Was that last year or year before last?
Last year, J. Cole and Lute, his boy Lute.
All of Dreamville. Well, they're not all from North Carolina, but I think most of them are from like that South area.
Yeah, I know that JID Earth Gang is from Atlanta, which is crazy because they all met at Hampton, if I'm correct, which is in what state?
Virginia.
Yeah. I know Boz is from New York, so he's a Queens dude. So that's for sure.
But where was I going with this? Oh, my point being though is that Virginia is not only the place where this country was started, it's also right next door to the Capitol. But it's also, and maybe this might walk back all that credit I just gave Virginia, also used to be the fucking Confederate capital.
We're gonna hold the Confederacy for another podcast, my boy.
But I'm only bringing that up to say how crazy would it be if we made Richmond, the former Confederate capital, the next Black Wall Street. We just rebuilt that whole city. Or better yet, DC, the chocolate city.
It used to be.
There's a lot of light business. It is getting gentrified like crazy.
Yeah, it used to be the chocolate city, but you're 100% right. Which that's actually a very interesting idea in terms of taking back the capital of the nation that wanted to keep us enslaved, and we turned it into our little gem. But of course, a lot of people are going to be against that because they're like, no, we need to build our own city, go somewhere else because it used to be the Confederate capital. And we don't want to, touch it at all. But at the same time, it's like a city is a city, and you may have hit the hammer right there on the nail. That's actually not a bad idea. That is not a bad idea. It'd be controversial, but I'm not opposed to it at all.
And the craziest thing about Virginia too, and we're coming up on the 1:30 mark, so this is going to be the last thing I say.
Okay.
But back in high school, I remember when we were learning about what gerrymandering is, and for everyone at home, let's have a little lesson. Not to insult the audience, not saying you don't know, but just in case anybody out there isn't too familiar, gerrymandering is when they draw voting maps. And this is very crucial because we are in a voting year. Vote for your life, please. And don't vote for Kanye West. I will personally run you the fade.
Don't vote for Donald either, because then you support someone that legit let us all die.
Literally. Trump lied, people died. And if you support Trump, you can just fuck off my platform. I don't care. It's that point blank period. But what was I saying?
Now you're saying, talking about gerrymandering is basically
gerrymandering. Yeah, when they draw congressional maps, they basically clump people into sectors to basically get an advantage in the polls. To make a long, complicated thing simple, they redraw the maps to make the number. They fudge the numbers that way. In high school, when we came to that topic, Virginia at the time had actually been considered one of the worst gerrymander states in the country. Like, we had a really bad gerrymandering scandal. And it's just kind of crazy because, you know, when people think of Virginia, they think of like, oh, the backwoods and all that, blah, 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 you know, deep South kind of thing. I mean, and it's not as bad as other states, because I know there's probably a handful of people that it's like, well, no, that's Mississippi, and no, that's North Carolina.
But it was pretty bad. Excuse me.
It was pretty bad. Literally, once they sorted out the gerrymandering and then they just started drawing them or redrawing them a little more fairly, Virginia switched blue. Everything we have been on the course for, in terms of like progression and whatnot, has been pretty okay. And it's really kind of like, I think that is very telling. You know what's kind of weird? I think Virginia could probably break again. Like split again.
You mean like it's a North or West Virginia? Oh, no, not West Virginia, like South Virginia or East Virginia?
I think everything on the East Coast, like Arlington, all of that stuff, and even Virginia Beach and stuff, I think that could all just be considered East Virginia. And then everywhere else, the Appalachians and that part, let that just be considered regular Virginia.
Well, you know, so basically you're saying that the Appalachian Mountains is a lot more rural as far as the coastline.
Well, not just the mountains, but the more west you go in Virginia, I mean, there's a reason why we have West Virginia, but the more west you go, the more kind of Bible Belty Virginia gets.
Yeah.
But if you are on the east or in the north, Virginia's pretty chill. Which is kind of a weird topic. It's not the kind of, I don't want to make everything super duper political, but to make a long story short, you know, it would be a really interesting idea to, you know, make over here the black capital of at least the United States. But we're at that 1 minute and 30 mark. You have anything else you want to bring up, say anything you want to plug, anything like that?
No, I just wanted to cap off. I just kind of want to tell people, you know, keep your head up during these tough times. Come November 3rd, vote for your life. Now, I'm going to just tell y'all straight up, I don't mean to influence y'all, but don't vote for Donald Trump.
I should make a song about voting, and I should sell that to the Democratic Party and make that the voting anthem.
You probably should, because listen, I don't care about his political party. If you look at everything he has done so far the past 4 years and what he has stood for, you'd be voting for a man that will literally let you die over his own incompetence.
Well, the thing about stupid people is they don't like to admit they're stupid.
They don't at all. And if someone says, well, freedom of choice, yeah, you have a freedom of choice, but I also believe you're not stupid. Are you really going to vote for someone, despite, you know, you may not like agree or bias other policies, are you going to vote for someone who is an idiot or someone that at least kind of knows what they're doing?
You know, idiocy hits too close to home for some people. But we will save this for another time. This has been the first episode of the Victory Clique podcast. Y'all know what the fuck I was talking about. Don't judge me for that. You know, follow us on everything. Follow the YouTube channel. Follow me on the Prince of Rhodes on all platforms, music, social media, all that stuff. Like I said, like this, wherever you are listening to this to. Thank you guys so much for listening to us talk about all this random stuff for an hour and a half. Tony, anything you want to tell the listeners, anything you want to say?
That's it. Y'all take care and have a blessed one.
All right, tune in next time, guys. Can't wait to talk with you guys. Peace.
Peace.